Hey guys, what's up? It's La coming back to ya with another episode of Car Rides with Schla. And today, I don't really have too much to say. I did finally wake up earlier than usual. Finally. Which is, that's a good start, but I actually didn't really get to bed or sleep particularly well. So that, I actually think I slept well. Because all things considered, like, it was just the length. Like, I woke up earlier than I should have, but I'm kind of thinking about it, and I'm wondering if I'm just kind of like, being in my bed just because I don't have anything else to do. That's like a pretty strong possibility. Um yeah, I don't know. It's like very very weird. Well, I mean, it's not really that weird. It's actually pretty understandable, you know. But yeah, cuz I feel like before I'd pretty much get into bed and fall asleep like right away. And it has not been like that recently. So something's kind of up, and it hasn't really been too good. I don't know. I don't know why, cuz I can't really complain too much. Overall, my sleep is still very consistent, so I'm not anything like below average, but not too high of a bar this in this day and age, is it? I'm still getting in the 80s, but I was getting in the 90s before, so yeah, I don't know. I really don't. I don't know that I know. I don't know that I know. But in terms of what's happening going forward? I felt like yesterday was fairly exciting, and then I'm still feeling and dealing with just I don't know what it is. I mean, it's just like there's not. I got so used to the joy of buying things, and then there's really nothing left. So I have to find like a new outlet. I don't know. I think I say that too as if I'm someone who like I feel like I over dramatize it on here because I don't spend I want to say like on it's definitely not half. I probably only spend like or in this year in particular maybe a quarter of what I've made, which is not it's not a problem by any means. I feel like if I'm talking about it and I'm telling y'all, oh, I'm a consumerist, I'm like addicted to buying things, there's probably people who are a lot worse, and I wouldn't even be surprised if I'm still below the average. I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty efficient with my spending in general, so yeah, I don't know. Don't really know what else to mention about that. I don't really feel like I have any, huge, crazy things to talk about, though. That's always... I had my main revelation, and I think it's important for me to prep for that. Like, to get used to the idea of living in a car. Because I think that's what I'm going to have to deal with eventually. And, I mean, it's not even all bad. Because again, like I explained, it would do a lot of good for the world if everybody lived in a car. It is like the morally superior thing to do. I like it, I like the sound of it, but it's just, I guess it's a little bit overwhelming. And again, I still have to save up a lot of money, because if I was going to get a vehicle, it's quite a bit to get like a good car, or I guess an ideal car for that. I've looked into it, and you really would want to have a hybrid, I think, because hybrids are much better for idling and using electrical things, obviously. I think eventually, as plug-in hybrids get more accessible, that would just have to be. I mean, it's not really too crazy to figure out why, but this is I'm assuming it's years out, so I have time, but at the same time, it's kind of frustrating. But I don't know. I don't really know. Just gotta save, But like I said, I'm still following my plan of, I just want to try to abstain in 2026. And then once 2027 and 2028 hits, then I will allow myself to have fun. Unless I unless I could just at any moment really throw all that in the trash. So, yeah, at any moment. Any moment. So, don't get too excited about me, actually. I'm driving pretty slow because I saw there was a truck in front of me, but it could definitely put me in jeopardy. Yeah, he is driving very slow. So it could put me in jeopardy of getting... Because remember, the past 3 days I've got to work at the same minute, and I really wanted to make that a fourth day, because I may have done 3 days in a row once before, but this actually could have been the first time. But 4 days in a row, I know that's definitely never happened, and that would be truly spectacular. But, what can you do, right? I don't know. But this truck, I mean, it's fate, right? What can you do about it? I don't know that I have many more big concepts. I mean, again, besides the car living thing, I've tried to figure out or think of a way to live in a smaller car, but it's kind of tricky. Especially because I'm tall. It's probably just not a good idea, sadly. But I think in the future we may see more cars like the Volkswagen ID Buzz, which is a very, very space efficient form factor, but hopefully from a more reliable brand, and in a hybrid, I'm pretty sure that is exclusively electric, and I don't really like that. I mean, it's fine, but I think the hybrid is just a really good cross between the two, and you still have access to gasoline. Yeah, I don't know. This truck's really gonna affect my time. So if I'm late, he's why. He is definitely why. So I think this is something I've talked about a million times before, so I guess it's not really that special, but I guess I'm just curious about people's obsession with like not liking statistics, because I've never, like, I feel like there's been so many people in my life who just don't like them. Like, anytime I bring them up or bring up data, people just don't like it, or they're like looking to disprove it or diminish it. And everybody seems to really think that experience is the main thing, is like people's actual experience versus just what data says. That's kind of how they frame it. And I even got to the point where I used to think like, oh, well, yeah, maybe I am a bit too data driven, and I should have more of a balance with experience. Like, I did get to that point, but then recently I actually have been thinking about it more, and I honestly feel like I don't even know if I agree with that, because I still think experience is just, it's so limited. Like, experience is basically just one statistic. Like, you're just taking one. I don't understand why that's valuable or relevant. So I'm wondering, I guess I will ask GPT what they think, but I just wonder about that, because in humans and in general, and I've become more open to this, the idea that there's sort of a combination of both that is the ideal. And that's still probably true, that in general you want to incorporate a balance of experience and statistic in your judgment. But at the same time, again, it's just like, the more I've thought about it, it just seems like experience would not really be a very, like, that as a metric just seems so bad compared to statistics, because I could experience something and just have like a really lucky experience, and then how is that objective advice? I mean, this happens to a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So I don't know. It's just something I've been thinking about recently. You know? I don't know. Don't really know how else to describe it, but it's just like been kind of, yeah, I don't know. So like, that being said, what is a statistic but a recorded experience? So I'm kind of questioning, I guess, the value of experience, because it just seems like, whoa, that guy's kind of crazy. It seems like a lot of crazy, weird people today. I don't really know. Maybe those few minutes. Yeah, I can't believe it, but that guy probably completely fouled me up. Maybe we'll go 55 today or something. But I would just go 50 probably, but I don't know. Yeah, I just wonder, because I just don't see how how or why would experience be valuable other than just to the individual? Well, I guess here is like a legitimate counter argument. It doesn't, like, the average doesn't actually exist. So if you try to extrapolate a bunch of persons' experiences into statistic, it doesn't really matter in your actual day-to-day life, because it's, at the end of the day, the privileges or the disadvantages that you have subjectively are what you have to deal with. You don't have to deal with the average usually. If you're luckier than most, if you're in a better situation than most, it may not be productive to, and I guess that's been the main message, right? Because there's a lot of ways I've always thought about the average and been thinking like that, but not taking into account that I could be separate from the average. You know, that's like a possibility, which I think has been I think is the case. I think that my life is definitely not average, and also my reactions, the input I give to my life is not average. So it doesn't really make much sense for me to apply these average level things to my life. I mean, especially right now with my realization about the living in a car future. A lot of people hate that. I mean, I'm going to ask around eventually in the coming months, but it's people are really going to hate that. And I guess to me, I don't get it, because it just seems so much more efficient. And if I can pull off living in a car, I could easily, at the current economy, win. Like, in terms of be able to afford all the stuff I want. Just the trajectory is still risky, because, you know, at this rate, wages will just keep eroding and more money gets taken out of the working class. So I have to watch out for that. I was just hearing, you know, the previous thing was like 12,000 a year has been taken from the working class and shifted into the top 1%. I think new data has came out now, because that might have been from a few years ago, but just in the past couple years there's been a massive acceleration of inequality, and now it's like 30,000 a year would be added to everybody's salary that has effectively been snatched by the top 1%. And if this is, you know, if we just had the same wage laws as the 1970s, and yeah, I would have no complaints, you know. So I guess that is the root of most of the problems, is income distribution. But like I've said, I don't know if I mentioned this before. No, I don't think I mentioned it. What the societal level effects of like gutting welfare and transferring money away from the working class. I don't think there's that much proof that that's very effective, because there's a lot of people who are born who may be special, and things like adequate nutrition, for example, really diminish a lot. Like, and that's why I'm kind of concerned about myself, because childhood and adequate nutrition in adolescence is really vital. And I know a lot of people who didn't do that. So there's like potentially fairly permanent damage, you know, that I did to myself. Or, I mean, some people were probably worse than me, but still, the nutrition thing is very, very bad. So the whole point is, I don't see, but it's tricky though. And again, this isn't my opinion. This is just trying to have like a cold calculation, I guess, of like, well, what is better? Would it be better to gut welfare and to allocate those resources upwards, or does that come with problems? And my humanitarian inclination is, you know, you obviously shouldn't do that, but I wonder if there is an elite counter argument where it's like, what if it did lead to more progress and stuff? But again, I don't think we see that. I think pressure, because this is the thing then I said, is like a lot of times rich people are actually the culprits of inefficiency, because they just have money, so then you don't really have to figure much out, because you can just pay other people to do things for you. Or, you know, I'm not saying all rich people are like this, but I think rich working class may be like this, where you're not really, you're worse. Like you're not as efficient. You know, somebody who's middle class has some money, but, you know, doesn't have a lot, so they have to actually think more about what they do. And that's the only reason why I think the elites justify. The problem is the food thing. But I get how food would want, because in the future there's probably going to be scarcity around food. I've kind of predicted this before, maybe. I don't know that I've talked about it, but the way food is now makes, like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you should have to order food and then get a fine if you don't eat it and it goes bad. Like, well, you wouldn't get a fine. It's just, how it should work is you should have to pay for food like a month in advance, and then if you don't eat it, then it just goes to waste. But you'd get double fine, because you'd get a fine. Yeah, you'd definitely get a fine. You'd get a fine, but then it would also, you already paid for it, so it's almost like a double fine. And yeah, you'd have to pick it up from the store or something. And a lot of stuff you wouldn't be allowed to purchase. So I think that's going to happen too. That's going to throw a lot of people off, because again, there's a lot of people, even at lower income levels, that view the luxury of like strolling into a store and picking out things. I mean, they see that as something they're like entitled to, or I don't think they can imagine life without that. But it's actually like a gross system. It's very unequal, and it causes so much waste. And it's just a waste of real estate too. So those systems are going to have to go. I mean, there's no way that in the further future that these things are going to be things. I mean, I don't know. There's just no way we're going to have... There's no way that we're going to do... stores in the way that we've done them. That's just not going to happen. It's just a lot of really poor design. Lots of really poor design. So that's why, in a way, a lot of these pushes and struggles are... Yeah, I mean, it's very poor design. But it's going to have to change. It's just going to have to change, because there's no way... Especially, too, because something I've noticed, at least in the food store, is the food store is fairly large, but I would say the majority of food you shouldn't even be eating. Like, I'm honestly think that a majority of food in the food store just isn't even healthy. And you have to think about how much space that takes up, and how just like crazily inefficient that is. I don't even know. I mean, I shouldn't really have to describe it, but I think you guys get what I'm saying. Like, I would not be surprised at all if there's just like 50%, over 50% of the food in a food store just shouldn't even be on the shelf. You know, I really would not be surprised. Yeah, I don't really see how I'm gonna make it on time. Well, the same time, I think I'm gonna be at least 2 minutes later than I've been, so that kind of stinks, but whatever. What was I gonna say? Yeah, it's just the way things are now. And I'm even talking about vegetables too, because even though I'm a carnivore, in terms of if you do eat vegetables, there's like a lot of vegetables that, even if they're healthy compared to like some of the junk, you know, most of the packaged junk, you know, any vegetable is probably going to be healthier than that. But then when you get into like all veggies, some are just more or less healthy in terms of the produce. So now it's time to say, like, okay, well, what vegetables should we not even carry? Like carrots, for example, fairly high in sugar. Most likely, you know, it's just not even worth eating. Grapes are really high in sugar. I don't think they have any particular benefits. I'm just using examples. I mean, it's not clear. Watermelon probably would get cut. I don't really think there's any. That's probably such an inefficient fruit to grow and transport. I'd have to imagine pumpkins. I mean, it would get to a point where this stuff is, it's just not gonna, there just should never be in the store, because they're not, it's not like there was that era where you just did stuff because it was possible, and now that's just not the case anymore. Now you do stuff out of what you should do, what should be done. It's a stricter and a more refined world, and I think historically we're going to see the 1900s as just such a wasteful and like ignorant time. Like, look back on there and like scoff at that. You already could say that, although there's too much residual waste going on and governments haven't really adapted. I think it's interesting because I don't think we realize how maladapted our governments are. They're not, like, in terms of a modern society, this is actually just about the beginning. Like, we didn't really, I don't know, like, we haven't really been in the 21st century for very long. And even as is, there's been quite a bit of stagnation which we may have already reached our peak, but, you know, if you think about, I may have mentioned this before, but it's this concept people bring up, how things have not fundamentally changed in terms of human lifestyle and efficiencies behind it. It's, you know, it's still cars. We still operate in very similar ways as before. So yeah, I don't know. There hasn't, like, in terms of living in a modern society, I don't, like, we're not really there yet. There's not really anything super, yeah, wow, I mean, I think my estimation of 2 minutes was, like, a little bit too generous. It might be like a 3 or 4 minute, because this is just not, wow. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I do think that truck probably. And then in terms of the rest of my speed, I haven't really been driving very fast anyway. I don't know. It's just not worth it, and a lot of times there's so much congestion to the point that it just isn't worth it. But yeah, I don't, in terms of modernization, again, we're sort of in that weird state where things have gotten more advanced, but then I don't really think our government has necessarily matched that pace. I don't know. It's just like not really a great situation, I suppose. Not sure, but that's just kind of what is coming to me right now. There's just too many things that didn't get fixed or have gotten worse, and not really much has gotten improved, despite things like, oh yeah, entertainment. You know, our entertainment is better than it's ever been in terms of boredom quenching. But in terms of quality, you could make the argument that it's not even that great from a quality perspective. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, there's not really a clear improvement. Again, besides like some, obviously shipping, things pertaining to that is very impressive nowadays, but there's a lot of amenities that you only get if you're in like the top 10%, or you can only like reliably use. I know some people still use DoorDash and stuff that are not in the top 10%, but I'm saying the reliably and responsibly use is way different than just people who just use these programs. You really can't, and even now, even as, yeah, I mean, I've definitely taken advantage of, you know, buying things on eBay, and it is nice to get stuff shipped fast. I really feel like that's the only advantage of modern living, especially that I can just think of immediately, because there's so many other ways that quality of life has gone down. I guess access to food could be better, but again, that's kind of blocked by the whole rich thing, because if you're rich, you'd probably have access to the greatest food ever right now. But if you're not rich, then that becomes a problem. You know, because it's like, yeah, if you're not rich, Well, I don't know. If we got perfect light luck, we'd probably make the same time, but we're not gonna get perfect light. Yeah, I think actually my 2-minute estimate is not very far off, in all honesty. A lot of times this light doesn't even matter though, because then the next light's red anyway. Yeah, no, I think sadly I'll be just like a minute or two off, which means that truck way in the beginning really fouled things up for me. So kind of a shame. You hate to see it, but I don't think we'll end up with the dream. I mean, in the back of my mind, I'm still hoping, but I can't see I'm gonna get there that fast. I think 1 minute. Well, no, because it looks like this light's red, so forget it. Forget it. Well, it just turned green. It's gonna be very tight, I think. I think it's only gonna be 1 minute, actually. And if there was nobody in my way, I could speed probably, but there is, and yeah, I can't see. I think it's gonna be 1 minute off. Can you believe that? I'd have to like do a very illegal thing, because I could obviously just go into the other lane and start passing people like a maniac. No, I actually can't because there's oncoming. Yeah, wow, that really stinks though. I mean, I guess it's possible if I cut in early that I could pull it off. Like, I actually might try doing that. Yeah, it's gonna be really tight though, and I might not even pull it off, but and there's a car there randomly, so that's not... It's like possible, but this is gonna be really tight. Gonna be very tight. No, it didn't connect. It didn't grab the... It just didn't connect for some reason. The network was there, but I think we're gonna be so close, but oh my gosh. Wow, I actually think we did it. I mean, we were like a second. It was, wow, we actually pulled that off. Completely unnecessary. I don't even think what I did mattered, but it was like so silly. I like pulled in very randomly, like it wasn't even in my parking space, just to try to clock in. If you get what I'm saying, because I was just trying to be like fast. But then I was just waiting there with my foot on the brake for like, quite a bit of time. But we pulled it off. I kind of wonder. Wow, I mean, that was really close, but this is very cool that I've gotten the same time 4 days in a row. That just is... That's really something. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I could do that more often. It's just tricky because you still could get gypped. Just the way, time and math work. It really depends. But I could do that. But that's so cool. I did not think that was gonna happen. I mean, it was down to 2 seconds. I'm serious. I mean, I really that was like a very last minute luck thing. Like it wasn't. I don't know. It was luck. It was. I guess it was. Wow. Anyways. Anyways. We're here. Today's probably the first day I don't really have to put the sunshades up because it's getting pretty cold, but I'm still gonna do it. Just out of, I don't know, it's still better, I guess. I really wish I had blinds just built into the car. I don't know how difficult that would be, but it seems like something that wouldn't really cost that much, and all the windows could just have like built-in blinds, and they wouldn't even need to be like electrical. It could just be a crank system, you know? There's no way it would cost that much to do. I refuse to believe that it would. It would probably just cost like, I don't even know, not that much extra. And all the windows could have like a shade attached to them. It's totally something I would get. I don't know. I think I would do it. I really do. Like, seems like such a cool idea. I really think I'm onto something. But yeah, like I guess I'm just not sure like if that's something you can get done or you can't. I don't know. You know what I mean? Guess it just depends. All right, well, I think it's been schla, but now it's time to buy schla. So, see you schla.